What if I told you that the Austin City Council was asking you to send them an extra $100 million, and yet they are quietly padding their budget with more travel, lunches, and more perks? I'm wondering, how do you expect this to sway your vote for the raising of this? Because this is on the ballot in November, and they initially sold this whole $6.3 billion budget raise as services and things, but they are quietly padding the budget with a lot of things. And I was met with a lot of criticism when I said they are padding the budget. Some of the things in this budget should shock you. I'm curious if they're gonna shock you. I'm curious if they won't shock you. And what should you do? Are you going to vote in November on this? Are you not? I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. Yes, I sell homes here in the Austin area, and yes, I help people buy and sell, but I want them to be educated on what they are doing, buying and selling here. And when they vote for things, how it will protect their wallets, how it may hurt their wallets, how it will help them as citizens, how it will help them grow as citizens, and all of those things. But the Austin Statesman just put out this article and did a deep dive, and I am shocked at some of the things that they are actually raising their budget on. What we're gonna do is dig into this today, because it's not just about local politics, it's a question of whether those we elect should ask for more money, and while lacking a ton of accountability. So let's talk about this raise of the taxes and what this is gonna include, because to be honest, this is a 20% increase in property taxes on the average home, which is gonna be about $300 more per year on the average home. Now look, if you look at the average home is less than $500,000. So doesn't sound that crazy, but the county taxes have a 9% increase because they had a disaster declaration. On top of that, we're talking for the minimum home another $200 because of the disaster declaration. That's on top of the taxes you already pay. And again, these are not for schools. These are not for a lot of the public stuff. This is for the city's budget. On the average person is going to go up $300. In other words, you're being asked to pay more, and not just a little more, a lot. Again, that's the average home. For most people, let's say you have a $700,000 house, this is gonna be upwards of $1,000 more per year. We're talking for most homeowners an additional $100 per month extra when inflation's still sticking around, when home prices haven't come down, and when people get concerned about, wow, these rental rates are so high, you as a tenant, as a renter, actually pay these because the landlord is not paying a lot of these taxes. Yes, it may come out of their margin a little bit, but the reason why rates for homes and rentals are not coming down is because more of this has to get passed on to you. This Statesman article highlights something that many might gloss over. While City Council is demanding more for residents, some of the most basic spending rules for city councils are extremely lax. Here's what is getting really interesting and concerning. The total bump in discretionary funding for all city council members combined is about $77,000. That's small relative to the $6.3 billion budget, but optics matter. Taxpayers are paying you to get the job done, not to fly business class and enjoy private meals at their expense, said Adrienne Shelley, Texas Director for Public Citizens. The article points out that Austin's spending rules are much looser than peer cities. For example, Travis County restricts use of public funds for food and retreats, except for under narrow exemptions. San Antonio allows food only at set events. Austin's policy is actually really vague, and in Houston, prohibits travel for food spending without written mayoral approval. Austin requires none. In Fort Worth and Dallas, expenditures have to be codified in city ordinances, giving them legal weight. Austin does not. When the Statesmen looked at it, the Financial Services Department did not flag lunch expenses for City Council member Bordeaux and Alter, raising questions about real enforcement. Each city council's baseline allotment will be $898,000, a 4.5% increase. Some budgets will shift dramatically. Mayor Kirk Watson's overall budget jumps 12% through his food, travel, and budget actually decreased slightly. Councilmember Vanessa Fuentes sees an 8% overall cut, but her travel allotment raises 144% for her role in national organizations. Jose Velasquez's educational travel budget jumps from $2,500 to $16,000, a 540% increase. Alter's total travel budget will increase by 225%. He claims he didn't request changes and that this total spending is near the bottom among his peers. That's a huge increase, but it's the bottom among his peers. So are we overpaying for travel right now? On oversight, some city council members say they welcome more scrutiny, but none are actively pushing reforms. Every expense in my office is public information, says Velasquez, but I'm open to discussing ways to further demonstrate office funds are used responsibly. Others counter, though, that if you micromanage every expense, you lose flexibility to serve the constituents. I'm sorry, I fail to see where us scrutinizing how much money you're spending on travel and food hurts your ability to do that. So the city council recently passed a $6.3 billion budget and proposed a property tax rate of 57.4% per $100 valuation. Because that exceeds a 5%, the state's threshold is triggering a tax rate election in November. You can read more about this on the Statesman, and many other publications are putting this out as well. If voters approve this, a $500,000 home would pay roughly $300 more in property taxes. If not, the increase would be $100. Now, it's going to be much higher because the average for most homes in Austin is way higher than that. And that's not what you can sell your home for, right? That's what the city evaluates your home for. So the city says, well, your home is worth $600,000, but you can only sell it for $400,000. Well, that's the city taxes. And this is the biggest problem I have with the year-over-year valuation. Every year on my YouTube channel, I actually put out how you can fight your property taxes. Good luck fighting them this year. You might get the valuation down, but the city is raising that. So in a year that the home valuations have come down, the value on your taxes will in fact go up. Either the city council has debated completely tax hikes. Mayor Watson pitched raising to 56, while other members wanted 59%. At the same time, the American Statesman analysis shows city council members increase their food budgets by 43% and travel by 55%, just as they propose big tax hikes. Beyond Austin, Travis County has approved a 9.12% tax hike, adding roughly $200 to the average home. Again, that's going to be much higher. And that's per year, not on top of what already being spent. And at the state level, the Texas House passed a bill to tighten local tax rate increases, reducing voter approval threshold from 3.5% to 1% in many cases, a movement to restrain local governments. And that is why we are voting on this. So let's talk about trust and accountability here. When elected officials ask for more money, but don't hold themselves to the same constraint, it erodes legitimacy. If the optics are bad, even if the dollars are small in the grand budget, the message is one rule for you, another rule for me. Now let's talk about fiscal pressures on homeowners. Many Texans are already stretched. A few hundred more dollars in property taxes, utility hikes, and fees add up fast. For people on fixed incomes, this could become a tightening point and cause more people to sell their homes. This could cause prices of homes to go down. But again, if prices of homes go down, the city's just going to find ways to increase your taxes. Let's talk about precedent and future creep. If lax spending becomes normalized, future council might go further without codifying rules or stricter oversight. Justified discretionary spending can morph into perks. Let's talk about voter leverage. The fact that this tax increase triggers a tax election means that you get to decide. That is power. And it should be widely informed. So are you paying attention to what's happening, and are you sharing this? And honestly, how are you going to vote on this? Are you going to vote to increase taxes on yourself 20% while the city pads their budget to go on more travel? That is up to you. I moved right outside the city limits, so I actually don't get to vote on this. And if I were to vote on this, I would 100% vote no. And that's me personally. I'm all about accountability. Many people criticize me on this channel for being a realtor, for being all these things. I have to be accountable to my own business. I can't outspend what my business makes. Otherwise, I go broke. Yes, the city council can go ahead and spend whatever they want because you are going to pay for it. And let's be honest, a lot of people just go with the herd and don't listen to both sides. And so then they just vote on these tax increases, and then they wonder why so much stuff is expensive. And then they leave, leaving people like us who stay. Well, I guess I left right outside the city limits, but for the people that stay, they get stuck with all these tax bills. Now, the state is already stepping in to rein in local tax increases. That tells me that they see this as a major problem. Local governments pushing rates upward without restraining internal spending. Now, let's get to the key points of this, right? On vague policies, Austin rules are not just minimal, they are far looser than those of their peer governments. On oversight lapses, the Financial Services Department did not flag the lunch expenses for Bordeaux and Adler. On transparency, every expense in my office is public information, but I am open to discussing more ways to further demonstrate that. That was City Council of Velasquez. Now, look, again, a lot of this is coming from the Austin American Statement. I have had a lot of issues with the Austin American Statements. I'm even having trouble saying the words, but I feel like they finally did a really good job investigating this. This is up to you. Do your homework. Look at the City Council's expenses reports, and you be the judge. Should you be voting on yes on this expense increase? Should you not? Do you think that property taxes are out of control? Do you think it's hard to buy a home? Because let me tell you this, if you're somebody who's trying to buy a home in Austin and property taxes go up, it makes it even more unaffordable for you. And yet City Council is pushing for all of this affordability, but they're doing it by doing density. They're not doing it by single family homes. So I'm curious, are you going to inform yourself? Are you going to vote on this? I'm Jeremy Knight, your favorite Austin realtor. I do the Austin real estate news, so you don't have to. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I do a lot of content like this. If you are somebody looking to buy, sell, or invest in the Austin area, we do a lot of work like this to help our clients make the most informed decision. And I have a lot of agents in my group that are ready to help you. Just reach out. My information's in the description. We'll see you in the next video.